Hi everybody, I am Matt Reed with Concordia University of Chicago, and I'm here today to give you an off-the-ice dynamic warm-up for hockey players. The goal and purpose of a dynamic warm-up is to increase range of motion by activating muscles of a joint that are frequently used in the sport and by utilizing sport-specific movements that imitate those involved in the sport. These movements need to be controlled and completed at appropriate speeds. For hockey, skating movements are the greatest physical requirements of the sport. A hockey player must have strong hips, knees, ankles, and core. Anatomical movements such as extension, flexion, and abduction, adduction of the hip, flexion and extension of the knee, plantar and dorsiflexion, and eversion and inversion of the ankle, and flexion/extension and rotation of the trunk make up a majority of the hockey movements. So let's get started with the dynamic warm-up. The athletes will begin with 3 minutes of jogging to increase their heart rate and blood flow. After 3 minutes of this, the athlete will begin to use controlled functional movement, being careful not to be too sharp with the movement. These functional movements will perform 2 sets of each, ranging from 15 to 30 seconds for each. The first one will be high knees for 15 seconds. This targets hip and knee flexion. The next movement will be butt kicks for 15 seconds. This targets hip extension and knee flexion. The next one will be karaoke core twist for 30 seconds, and this will be targeting hip adduction and core rotation. Now, a slightly different version of the karaoke will be the karaoke knee up, and this will also be performed for 30 seconds, but this will target hip adduction, hip and knee flexion, and core rotation. Next will be side shuffles for 20 seconds, and this will target hip adduction and abduction. After that, we will complete high knee skips. This will be for 15 seconds, and this will target ankle plantar flexion and hip and knee flexion. And finally, trunk twists. This will be for 30 seconds, and it will be core rotation. After completing these functional movements, we will move on to sports-specific movements. Controlled movements, we will perform 3 sets ranging from 10 to 12 of each set. The first one will be deep lunges with rotation, and this will target hip and knee flexion, core extension, and core rotation. Notice how he extends all the way up and then side to side, working on rotation. After completing 3 rounds of this, we'll move on to elbow to foot lunges, and this targets hip and knee flexion, core rotation, and core flexion. He wants to step out as far as he can and flex his core down to the ground. After this will be side lunges. This will be targeting hip abduction and adduction, with an extension striding out to both sides. He can simply do it in place, going back and forth from side to side. Good, and then finally, we will do angled 1-foot balance hops. This is going to target balance for your ankle, knee, and hip balance. Okay, and will mimic the ice skating used in hockey. We'll perform 3 sets of this, 10 repetitions. Notice how he balances himself each time after each hop, working on balance of the ankle, knee, and hip joints. This should take about 15 minutes to complete, but after doing so, the athlete should be ready to take the ice and be able to start playing hockey.